it can truly be said that I have skeletons in my closet. No, that's just bones in my cupboard. The coffee fix is in, and I have officially won yet again, and my wife just splurged on me with a Dr. Michael level of coffee, as there are now 7 bags of material overflowing my cupboard, and I'm not sure I will ever not be caffeinated going forward. I'm very excited about this.
But the trick is, it won't take you 4 years to go through those bags of coffee.
Yeah,
Hey, it will not take me 4 years to go through mine either. If memory serves correct, I said that I learned my lesson. Mm-hmm. So I too will be. I have been drinking bones literally daily. Now, I am very excited for you, Shane. The one flavor that I do not own / haven't tried, because some of the ones that you have that you sent over, I have, but have yet to get to. Mm-hmm. So I will get to kind of sample the wares there and pick your brain on those. But the Wonder Bones one that was in the picture that you sent over, I am not familiar with that flavor, nor do I own it currently. So
it may be on the way out, because that was what we got as our special freebie gift for ordering. And so it's wonderful. It is essentially a salted pretzel flavor. And you wouldn't think that would blend well with coffee, but oh, I assure you it does. It's exquisite. It's buttery. It's unctuous and just everything that you could hope to expect. And no, Courtney's not back on the podcast this week, but we do have a little femininity that is encroaching, and it's not just my breasts this week. But I believe, by the mention of breasts, we should say, by the eternal... Behold. It is the Disinformed podcast. I'm Shane.
I am Michael.
And of course, we have returning to us our great indentured servant, or, actually somebody who willingly chose to participate, but is the creator of our show artwork. And we may have to finagle something a little different going forward. Who knows? But, of course, naturally, we want to keep me as the centerpiece because my vanity will not allow anything else. But if you've seen our picture somewhere, it is attributed to this wonderful woman, the Bad Artist Jessie. Welcome back, dear lady.
Hello. Thank you for having me back. And yes, I will reattach myself to my iPad and make more art for you guys soon.
Well, bless you. We're excited to see it, and also excited to have you back for another discussion, because your first visit with us here was incredibly popular. And there's a lot of Dungeons and Dragons fans out there. And so obviously I'm giving up the ghost here, but you've read the title of the episode, so I'm sure if you're listening to this right now, you know what you're getting into. But it's going to be an exciting time. And so what are we going to be discussing here, Miss Jess?
Well, D&D is no stranger to controversy, and there's been many throughout its history. I touched on a few of them the first time I was here, as far as the legal disputes between Gygax and the company he helped found, TSR, along with TSR's questionable business practices, which led to their downfall. I touched on Satanic Panic. Michael went very in-depth on it. And even more recently, with the release of their Spelljammer campaign last year, there was a whole thing about that where I think it's pronounced Hadozi, were depicted as slaves in that. So people were not pleased, rightfully so.
Is that true? Did they really incorporate a slave race in their
Yes, that is true.
I mean, if we're representing, a fantasy realm, I mean, a portion of this you'd have to imagine would follow our reality, but...
There are space hamsters, and then slaves.
Following our reality.
Wizards thought nothing was wrong with having those two together.
We have touched on space hamsters previously, but mostly involved untrue stories about Richard Gere, but we won't have to get any further into that. No, it's gerbils. It's fine. But that's a space hamster. It's a space heater.
Yeah, exactly. And they balance. You can't have slaves without space hamsters. You can't have space hamsters without slaves. I mean,
well, I mean, they can bond with each other, discussing their cages and the little balls that they're put in to walk around in.
Yeah.
True.
It's the secret of Nim all over again.
Oh, jeez. The memories.
Yikes.
But before we get in too deep, Do you want to explain?
Michael, I know what I'm doing. Do you? Last week was obviously an anomaly, and I am somewhat back to my senses now. But I was moving in. I just wanted her to give us a segue so that we could have a brief discussion. Yes.
We're not discussing Spelljammers, though, so I will say that.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
There's a completely new controversy surrounding D&D, and that would be the revision of their open game license, and we can go into that a little later, but that's what we're going to be talking about. It's caused a whole dumpster fire.
Ooh, and speaking of holes and dumpster fires and, obviously things falling out of our ass like gerbils, what we usually do on this show, the last few weeks notwithstanding, is we like to talk about random esoterica, and as we do so, the person presenting lies occasionally. That's part of the shtick. That's the joy of the show. And the co-hosts then have to attempt to not be mealy-mouthed, stupefied, and stumble-bummed, and try to figure out what those lies are in situ as they fall our direction. And of course, even if we don't get them as we listen, there will be a denouement at the end of the show. We'll explain what was lied about and why, so that you all do not leave disinformed. Is that sufficient for you, Lord Miguel?
As the new legal, I
man, I
that
quit.
message.
Technically, Lord Michael is actually on this side here, if we count the Principality of Sealand.
You make a fine point. Yes, I forget that you've been duly bequeathed. But
Well, legal is probably going to kick me off this podcast because I'm going to throw a wrench in your whole thing. I don't have any lies for you today.
Oh, shit.
That's a lie.
It is not. What is going on with the OGL is just really too important, I feel like, to lie about, even for a little bit.
That's
and
fair.
Wizards of the Coast is doing plenty of lying for all of us here. So what I thought I'd do, since you guys were talking about changing it, is go hire PR nightmare with you. What is the OGL? Why is this happening? The timeline. Oh God.
We might have to. I was gonna say. Well, you may have to do that one more time.
Walk it back.
Anyway.
Do a little backpedaling like they did.
Yes, they
As
have done
always,
backpedaling.
Our best laid plans. But so someone else has been lying for you.
Yes,
Yeah,
Wizards
there you
of the Coast.
They're still lying, so it counts.
Yeah, there's lies involved. It's just not me. But since y'all were talking about changing it up, I thought I won't lie, and we'll talk about this dumpster fire, the timeline of events, and towards the end, I'm going to read you Wizards of the Coast statement, and I want y'all to tell me what you feel is the bullshit, because there's plenty of it, and so as people with some knowledge and passing interest in D&D, I thought it would be fun.
I just love watching Michael get supremely excited and just light up.
I don't know. I like it. It's like instead of her lying, why not let the source lie for her?
Let's
it's
re-explain
perfect.
it again. Why don't we? Yeah, let's.
No, that's why I'm excited.
I understand.
It's cool.
I was enjoying your mirth. It's the first and last time.
It's
Anyway,
true. He did light up like it was, Christmas there.
yeah. It's not just like me and my Irish complexion and this poor ungodly lighting that I'm in, where I radiate just on general
Though
principle.
you can't throw too much shade there, my friend, because if memory serves correct, I've seen you light up, anytime Stephen King gets brought up there and whatnot, I've seen you like a little kid on Christmas morning too. So let Michael have his moment.
I more fancy myself, and damn it, I'm gonna lose it. But the character Alan Rickman played in Hitchhiker's Guide. I'm just this, suicidal robot just floating around, attempting to mimic human
the
emotion.
more recent one. I only like the 80s miniseries one.
Wow,
that was. Mwah.
Here's your hipster button for the day. Congratulations.
No, it was made by the BBC, so it was more legit than the Hollywood.
We're not allowed to talk about that anymore. We don't discuss adult films on this show anymore. We've lost that part of the audience.
What a sad day.
You can still have
Anyways,
BBC. We just don't. We can't have it in our mouths anymore.
Oh, so we can't talk about BBC, but we can talk about hamsters going right up the yin yang.
I mean, that's natural.
It's
An
all
easier
organic.
gun in space with low gravity.
There's a whole
true.
new meaning to the word furry.
Boldly going where no
Where no
hamster
gerbil.
hath gone before. All right,
Warp
Jess,
speed.
take us away.
Alrighty. So, open gaming license. What the heck is it? If you are the average D&D player like myself, you've probably never heard of it, seen it, know what it is. It is in the back of most of your supplementary source material.
Ooh.
So if you do have a third-party publisher D&D book lying around like this one, it is in the back. For those of you at home, I'm holding up the Tal'Dorei Reborn campaign guide.
Thank you.
Since this is an audio podcast, not a visual one.
Oh, Michael will get you onto a visual medium at some point in perpetuity.
But in short, the open game license allowed for creators and publishers to make derivative work of D&D content without paying royalties or worrying about the possible legal ramifications of violating copyright laws. It was created in 2000 with the release of 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons, and it quickly introduced homebrew books, unique character sheets, races, and just a tons more stuff, and it is directly responsible or contributed to the success of D&D across the globe now, as it has seen major growth in the last 10 years.
Well, I mean, you do want folks to feel as though they can express themselves and be imaginative just beyond the bounds of what's published, because otherwise you can run through campaigns pretty quickly if you're very dedicated. So obviously, let folks sort of write their own stories.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's the fun of Dungeons and Dragons, is the storytelling piece of it.
That's why Gloom is my favorite card game.
I've never played.
Oh, it's delightful. You simply must. Particularly
Wait,
if you have
Gloomhaven?
my predilection. No, Gloom. Just
Okay.
Gloom. So the story, not to derail, but very quickly, is you are supposed to try to make, you have a family or that you're representing, and all of the players all have families in these cards, and you are supposed to try to cause them to have as much undue harm as possible and make them as miserable as you can, and then kill them, and that is how you get the highest score. And so then you, as a player trying to sabotage the other folks playing, try to make nice things happen to them. And so you tell a story about all of these sort of circumstances that befall folks as you place the card. And so you're kind of explaining the things that happened to either make these folks happy or sad, and then eventually lead to their demise. It's a very fun game, glorious storytelling opportunities, and you can make your family uncomfortable, as I have on many occasions whilst playing that. Anyway, check it out.
Will do.
It's on the list. But recently, within like the last year, they Wizards of the Coast announced that they were going to be revising the 5e system, and they're calling that system 1D&D. And part of that revision was revising the open game license. Rumors about a new OGL began mid-December, so just in the last month. It was reported that Wizards of the Coast met with a handful of third-party publishers to go over the new license. However, that license got leaked to the public on January 5th of this year and was dubbed OGL 1.1. And it did spark outrage amongst the community because it aims to deauthorize the original OGL, restrict creators, and demand royalties from practically anyone making money off of D&D. So to the average... Oh, sorry, go.
No, I was just going to say, when you say anyone making money, isn't it only people like the royalties? Doesn't that just kick in for anybody making more than 750,000?
Oh.
So like that's a substantial, I mean, yeah, it's not like somebody, bringing home a few $100s or making a living off of being a DM, for instance, would be getting taxed. If you're making 750K plus, maybe you could, an argument could be made to fork over some cash in terms of royalties because you're making a pretty good amount of coin.
The wording of it is funny. We'll go over the tier structure that is listed in the document as well, but there's 3 tier structures, and the wording of the second tier is it's a little sus.
No tears, please.
Yeah, I'm not
it's
advocating
a waste
one way or
of
the
good
other.
suffering.
I'm just saying the argument could be made from my limited understanding of it, but I'm excited to dig into it.
So we have a devil's advocate over here.
It's always good to have. But to the average player, it really has no effect on how we play the game and what we do on our table. We can make up our own rules and say, fuck you, wizards, we'll do what we want.
Ooh, you're fucking wizards on the table now.
It has happened.
Well, if it's not hard,
Hello.
it's not fucking. It's more friction.
Just super hard to get the D20 out once it's rammed up there, though.
Well,
Not
that's
with that attitude.
why you lead with the hamster and allow them to push it out. It's
I
just,
thought you were gonna say, lead with the D4. You gotta
Oh,
count
no,
up.
don't do
D4,
that.
D6, Well,
it's not anal beads made out of dye.
Although I am sure those
I am-
exist.
I
I
am
am positive
curious.
those exist somewhere. And if they don't,
incognito mode. Here we
Disinformed
go.
should copyright that, and we have we have some moneymaker right there. The only problem will be once we start making $750,000 off these anal beads.
Well, they can't copyright die like D20s. Like they can't copyright the fact that it's a 20-sided die.
Perfect. Our
cannot.
anal
That is
bead
true.
plan is back on track then.
Yeah.
Already lamenting doing this. I can see, Jess.
No, I was just gonna say, go off on a small tangent.
Ooh.
On Critical Role recently, they spent like the first hour trying to fake an orgy to get out of combat. It was hilarious.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
perfectly
Fucking
reasonable.
wizards on the table does happen in
Yeah.
D&D.
I mean, you'd hope. Otherwise, you got a lot of scantily clad people for no reason. It's supposed to be easy access.
This is true. But I'm trying to get back on track. I'm sorry.
Welcome to the world.
Yeah, it can cause harm to the community at large by changing the OGL. Many content creators, like Critical Role and Dimension 20, could be affected. Freelancers like Grant Hallett, who made several of the one-shots that we have played on After Dark.
Which are delightful.
Yes, I love it.
If you haven't seen, go check those out on our YouTube channel.
Oh yeah.
If you're seeing this on a short, I'd recommend you click the button, because Michael would absolutely erupt right now
And
if he
smash
knows.
that like button.
We'll wait.
That's a critical role.
Other TTRPGs like Pathfinder, as well as publishing companies like the Griffin Saddlebag and Kobold Press, who are third-party publishers, could potentially lose content and revenue from this restrictive open game license. And a big question that was going around was, why now? The original OGL has been there for 23 years, allowing creators to make new content for D&D, and it's been in place without any major changes or edits. And I say major changes or edits because if you look up the original open game license, there's two references to it. One is OGL 1.0 and the other is OGL 1.0A. I could not find anywhere that said when A came into existence and what the difference between the two was. So if there was a change, it was small enough that people weren't mad about it. Also, when 4th edition came out, it was published under a completely different license called the Gaming System License. And I didn't read that one. It was described by others in the community as draconic and restrictive. So OGL 1.1 may be the Gaming System License version 2. But I didn't want to focus so much on that since it's not going to be the one that is authorized moving forward.
Yeah.
Do you have any guesses as to why now, after the 23 years, they might be doing it?
I do. There is a lot of speculation that this change is actually coming from Wizards of the Coast parent company, which is Hasbro. Hasbro has seen a significant drop in toy sales, and
now they want a monopoly on the D&D market.
Well,
D&D
Monopoly
is
is
their
an entirely
moneymaker.
different game.
Which
Does
is
Hasbro
also,
own Monopoly?
I
No.
think.
That's Parker Brothers.
Oh, you're right.
Damn me and my puns.
Yeah, I was like, thanks, Shane. Just stomp all over it. You hungry hippo.
Easy.
Whoa!
You and me are about to become battle bots here, friend.
Oh shit! Them's fighting words. Where
How
I
many
come
board
from.
games can we name in 1 minute? Go.
I don't know. There might be trouble.
Listen, I'm
Someone's-
sorry.
Yeah, I figured someone might be.
I got Uno ideas. So there you go.
That's a card game.
Maybe
not a board
Dose?
game.
Oh, okay. Well, I got nothing then.
No.
I just had to
Hello?
get that off my chest, okay? Sorry.
How can you make a pun with
Nope.
Othello?
Nope.
That counts, yes. Don't you shake your head no.
Nope. Not letting that getting
No,
near
because
it.
that's not a pun. No, I agree with him. It doesn't count.
Had to
It's
get
not a
that off
pun.
my chest.
Yeah, just because you have a speech
Oh.
impediment doesn't mean it qualifies as a pun.
Touché.
Anywho, so Hasbro's ruining it for everybody, as per usual.
Pretty much. It all comes down to corporate greed. But there was a report in June of 2022 that said that I can't talk now. I'm the one stumbling over words. You're welcome, Michael.
She is the Michael, the third.
So you're the host now?
I am the host. now.
Taking over.
Congrats.
Captain now. Look at me. Their consumer products posted a loss of $6.5 million. And yeah, millions of dollars is a lot, but $6.5 million, probably not a lot to Hasbro, considering how much Wizards of the Coast had in revenue over that year. Even though Hasbro was tanking, Wizards of the Coast had their biggest quarter ever, led by 15% growth in tabletop and 11% growth in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Over the year 2021 to 2022, their revenue was only up 3%. So they are their best performer, but for a year's worth of growth, 3% is not a lot. Still millions of dollars, so it's a lot to us.
And you said that's
$419 million.
Do you say that's up 3%? So from 2020, 2021, it's up 3%. Well, that could make sense though, because I'm sure it probably jumped significantly in 2020, probably compared to 2019, right? Just because I'm assuming that there was a huge blow up post pandemic. So it would make sense that it would only go up 3% if it had a massive spike in 2020. But I'm just guessing that the pandemic would have resulted in a spike, though I don't actually know if that's the case.
Well, I mean, there's also probably something to be said for the fact that Stranger Things, which kind of became the major part of the cultural zeitgeist shift, brought it back to the forefront where people were reconsidering. It's like, oh yeah, that D&D was a thing, and hey, it's fun now because we're not afraid of Satan, so let's all do it.
Yeah.
That's true.
I did not look up the numbers for the previous year. Getting even this information was kind of hard for free. Like,
Yeah.
there's many sites that make you pay for this information. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, and Michael works for a research institution, so there's no way he'd be able to help you with that at all. But
Nope. Absolutely not. I don't do it myself, so.
see, I would have helped you, but I've lost all my database access now. I'm just one of the regular people. I am a poor. As Courtney would say, I am drinking a Soleil sparkling water, so I've fallen pretty far now. I'm down on the lower rung of the ladder.
Okay, I can't have Liquid Death anymore because Target stopped carrying it, and I'm not paying Amazon prices. So
What?
Ooh, they carry it at Winco. I was just there today,
they do. Mm-hmm.
So you can definitely track it down there.
Bless Winco.
I don't want to lose another one of our not sponsors. I know Bones is also not paying the bills, but damn it, we're trying. So Liquid Death, please.
Here. Yes,
We'll find a way to you.
please.
yes, I am a Bones house as well.
Favorite flavor?
The Nightmare Before Christmas ones. I
Just
bought so
any?
many of those. Yeah.
Is that why you were shaking your head like in disappointment when he mentioned the Wonder Bones?
Yeah, because I've had it and I really don't like it. I'm sorry, Shane.
Oh,
saw you
interesting.
shake your head.
Okay.
I saw you shake your head in a no, and then when he proceeded to explain it, you kept shaking your head no. I'm like, oh, she has strong
Wait,
thoughts
so-
against
okay.
this flavor.
I have to check then. Maybe it's part of the Nightmare Before Christmas box set that I got.
It's not. No,
It's not? Okay.
No,
No,
Wonder
no.
Bones was a flavor that they did a while back.
It was
And
a Halloween seasonal.
It's an Oktoberfest thing.
Gotcha.
Is what it's
Okay,
tied
yeah,
to.
because I was
so.
gonna say it didn't look familiar when I saw it in the picture there, but okay, so not a good flavor then.
It
So-
depends
In my
on your
opinion.
tastes. Like
Yeah.
My
if we've
husband
gone,
loves it. He told me I couldn't get rid of it because I was going to give it to my mom. He said no. Um, so he likes it. I do not. It's just not my thing.
yeah, if we proved nothing from our Guns N' Roses discussion, it's that taste is subjective,
and change
one.
is questionable, so the bad
Right.
artist Jessie here might be the correct one here.
Yeah, I did allow you on this show, so I guess there is living proof of I might be out of my mind.
If memory serves correct, it was Michael that asked. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
and I allowed it to happen.
Don't compare my
Yeah.
tastes about anything to anyone.
If you're
It
still
is
trying to
always
get me to
business.
quit, I will be leaving in about
Oh.
5 minutes anyway, so y'all can
Jeez.
just get the hell out of here.
Ah,
Anyway, no,
Oh.
Wonder Bones is fantastic, and I'd recommend you try before you formulate an opinion.
No, for
But
sure.
that's me.
I'm definitely going to. Assuming that it's still around, you said that it might be on its way out.
I
so
don't
I'll
know.
have to-
That was purely speculation on
no,
my
it
part.
was a seasonal. I got an email from them because I'm subscribed to their newsletter that it was a seasonal and so it will be gone. Most likely will be back for the fall, but
Oh,
it's just
damn.
a seasonal. That's all.
Yeah, this is what I get for, interjecting my personal little information into the beginning of the show. Now we are officially the Bones podcast,
Oh,
and
if
not that
only.
show that was only mildly entertaining for some folks. But anyway,
David Boreanaz.
So yeah, we'll get into what is wrong with the new OGL.
fuck, send me an angel right now.
So the leaked OGL 1.1 is a 15-page document versus the original, which is only 2. Now that stands out to me as a little suspect because
That's a
when
big
the rumors
difference.
started about a new OGL coming, Wizards of the Coast said, we want to update the language so it is more transparent and it's
Uh-huh.
clear on what's covered and what's not.
Fair.
You need 15 pages to do that?
That's a lot of transparency.
If their numbering system has proved anything, they are not efficient. 1.0a does not strike me as the best way to approach something. It's like a subheading.
Yeah. So we're not going to go over all 15 pages. We'd be here for weeks probably trying to
Mhm.
break that all down. So we're just going to talk about what the community has the most issue with. Number one thing being revoking the original OGL. We're going to talk about license back provisions and the royalty structure. So first off, revoking the OGL. When 4th edition was released, it was under a completely new license, but the OGL 1.0a stuck around. It wasn't deauthorized. People still continued to publish under it. And so the claim that they can just decide to deauthorize it, even though people believe that isn't possible, is kind of freaking them out. And even according to an old Wizards of the Coast FAQ page, if you use the Wayback Machine, it even says there that they're not going to deauthorize it. They can't. People would just ignore it. And I read through this document a few times. I feel like it bounces between some legal language and plain speech, so it was hard to find where it states that they're going to deauthorize it, but it is in Section 10. It says for both commercial and non-commercial, this agreement along with the OGL non-commercial and update to the previous available OGL 1.0a, which is no longer an authorized agreement. And along with it, they say we can modify or terminate this agreement for any reason whatsoever, provided we give 30 days notice. So not only do they want to deauthorize the old one, they want to make this one just something they can change willy-nilly, which freaks a lot of people, especially publishers, out. It's like,
yeah.
whoa.
If that's your main source of income and the fact that your whole industry can be toppled with just 30 days notice, yeah, I would definitely be terrified.
Yeah,
You know?
it's gives me bad feels. It doesn't sit right with me either, and I'm not even a publisher. I don't make money off of D&D.
it makes you wonder how much, platforms like Patreon or other things that are finally allowing creators to somewhat monetize their material a little more readily is playing into this as well. Because, I mean, you'd imagine that they were bleeding as much as they can out of the secondary publishers that are already using their stuff as a derivative. So maybe they're getting upset that all of the homespun stuff is starting to become a little more accessible.
I would have to agree with you. There are provisions in this that say that you can have Patreon subscribers, but you cannot have Patreon exclusive content, which is the whole point for having a Patreon, I feel like, is providing that exclusive content.
Mm-hmm.
So if they cannot provide D&D supplementary materials as exclusive content, like, why would they have a Patreon?
Oh, they specified that because then you are now gating it behind paywalls. And that's the only person that can do that is Hasbro themselves. So,
that's how they can mask it under the, we did this for equality and inclusivity. I see. That's actually a smart sales pitch. It's obviously BS, but it's a smart sales pitch to try to,
it's a good
give
tactical
it that
choice. Yeah,
we only want open source stuff unless we're publishing it, and then we want your money.
Yeah. I would be surprised if the previous 2-page, I haven't read the previous OGL, but I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere in that there was some sort of language allowing themselves the ability to revise it at some point, though. So I'm not surprised that this one would make the previous one, if this one actually ever went into effect, would make the other one null and void. That would be expected.
I can't remember, was Wizards of the Coast owned by Hasbro in 2000? Because that would be like a big different thing if Wizards of the Coast was its own separate entity and they were just bought out by Hasbro between the original OGL 1 and now. Because if they, like, Wizards of the Coast is a very open, like, they do a lot of stuff like this where they just, like, it feels the company that they've established for years and the community that they've helped foster has been very open about their stuff. So I feel like if it was just them writing this OGL 20 some odd years ago, I feel like they wouldn't have had a stipulation where they could change it any time. Not necessarily that they wouldn't change it, but that they wouldn't. They would have like a stipulation that they could change it at any point in time. They just have to give notice.
There's something that also I think you can draw parallels. Obviously, there's a cumulative effect happening, but like you can even look at the state of publishing right now, and probably that has a major impact because we're losing people actually buying physical material anymore. It's not a lot of folks are going to spend $70 to $80 to get a guide when no, I can just download something similar, or I can get somebody else's guide. It's like, I'll spend $5 for something that's an electronic version as opposed to have this. And so there's a lot of languishing that is probably contributing to this on the whole or holistically.
Yeah. To answer your question, Michael, I looked it up. Hasbro bought Wizards of the Coast in September of 1999.
Oh.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Depending on when 3rd edition came out, they might have already been in like the works with OGL because it is a legal document.
Yeah.
And that takes time to put together and lawyers and all this other nonsense. So
that would be an interesting thing to look into further. But it's neither here nor there right now. Just interesting to think about. Okay. Sorry for my distraction.
No worries. There was also a lot of staff changes at Wizards of the Coast. So the former vice president, Ryan Dancy, is also the creator of the original OGL. He's no longer works for Wizards in any capacity, but he doesn't believe that Hasbro has the power to deauthorize a version of the OGL, as the original was intended to be binding in perpetuity. And it didn't state anywhere in there that it was irrevocable. So I think that's where Hasbro is like, got ya.
Yeah.
But in perpetuity to me means forever, not, forever until the Hasbro gods say otherwise.
Yeah.
But did the document itself say in perpetuity, or is it just an assumption on there? And I guess because I can't imagine any lawyer drawing up any sort of contract that would just have this go on, for the rest of time without any sort of possibility of revising it or, shying away from it if need be, especially if Hasbro already owned them by that point. And it does make sense to me just to be able to give yourself the ability to revise it. Maybe more than 30 days. That seems a little, short notice there. But
well, that's more for the general public consumption. I'm sure they'd have things in play prior to that.
Yeah, they would have it done and ready to go, and then they would say, okay, this is what is happening.
Yeah, like a zoning commission.
Supply. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that gives a decent organic spot for me to step out here, but I hope y'all have fun. Enjoy yourselves.
I will say one thing before you leave.
Mm-hmm.
I did find on Etsy anal beads that are shaped from D4 to D20. And I looked at it and I verified it is D4 to D20, starting at the end and working its way up.
You're gonna want to clear your search history lest your wife come on to buy something from Etsy later and be like, "What was he viewing?"
I'll tell her, but also I use safe search is off. Sorry, I don't play by the rules. Incognito mode is where it's at.
Yeah,
so.
you're also going to want to roll for some sort of protection, I think.
It is Etsy. Etsy is safe. That's why
I'm just saying,
totally
before you insert, you're going to want to roll for protection.
Yes, yeah.
Sanitize that, my friend.
Let's hope you don't get crit fails the whole way up.
Oh, God.
Oh, well, there's something for you to think about for the rest of the evening there, Shane.
And I believe that is going to close the cover on this stellar installment of the Disinformed podcast. We thank you all for being here as per usual. There's a link tree down in the show notes that you can go to if you want to find all of our irrelevant or relevant socials, and you can follow us there. And please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the show because it helps us out, and of course it gets new episodes winging your way every lovely Monday morning as soon as they hit the airwaves. And then, of course, if you could subscribe, rate, and review, we would love to hear from you. And beyond that, we hope that you have a wonderful week. And so, for the Disinformed podcast this week, I'm Shane.
I'm
Michael.
I'm Jessie.
And zippity zoop, we're out of here.